what was that? 2020? I don't remember now.
It was a
2020.
little while ago.
Yes, it was more than a hiccup ago. So, my down south coming out. But what I was going to say is, you're here now, but it does no good if I don't introduce you. But I don't introduce people. It's not my thing. Tell people who you are, even though your name is right there.
So I'm Mel. I am a life coach, and I help ordinary people create extraordinary results by offering simple strategies and insights so that they can design a life they love. So I got a little story for you. So this is a pile of scrap wood. Mostly it's fencing material. And so one day my dad was up visiting, and my grandma was actually in the hospital and she was dying. We knew she didn't have very much time left. My mom was off, making whatever arrangements she needed to. And I had time with my dad. And so we were just trying to figure out what we needed to do. And so we decided to work on a wood project together. And I had all this wood in my backyard just waiting for us to create something. And so I had this idea to create an end table in my entryway. And so we had kind of picked through all of the wood that we wanted to make for the end table. And we found everything we needed except one of the legs for this entryway table.
All right.
And so it was so frustrating because you kind of need, the legs all have to be a certain height. They all have to, you can't have one helps. Short leg.
Yes. Well, you could, but it would be a custom piece, I would imagine. But go ahead.
So we had 3 scrap pieces that were all the same. And I was like, I mean, we went through all the wood, and I was like, Dad, we don't have another piece. And he's like, okay, let's just start walking and just have the power of intention. Let's just go in the backyard and see what we can find. Awesome. I'm like, okay. So we just started walking, and we got into the backyard, and I'm like, I already know. I've already been through this pile. But there was a chicken coop that I had built, and there was a fence that went around this chicken coop. And an old scrap project I had to place when the chickens were younger so that they didn't escape. There was like a little crack in the fence. So I had to put this 2x4 there so the tiny chickens couldn't escape. And the chickens were bigger now, and so they couldn't fit through this crack. And so I was like, this board would be perfect. And I pulled it out, and it was the right height. And that was like,
wow.
If we hadn't have just started walking to the backyard, just had that power of intention to see what else we could see, I think I could have given up, and we would have just maybe done something else that day. But, we found the 4th leg, and we were able to create a beautiful end table.
That end table that's between you and I there on the screen.
Yeah.
That is what you created? Yes?
Yes. So it's the one that we found is the back left piece. And it has like 3 layers of stain that we had to sand down so that it looked a little bit more rustic.
Now that I see it, it does look a little bit darker than the rest of them.
It's different. I love that about my pieces too. I purposely put a lot of character and imperfection into my work because I think that's so important to not be so concerned with that perfection. Well, you do need to identify a goal for sure. I think of Alice in Wonderland, and she's talking with the Cheshire Cat. She's looking for which way that she wants to go. And the Cheshire Cat asks her, where do you want to go? And she says, well, I don't know. Well, then it doesn't really matter which way you go. So you have to have a goal. You have to have an intention. What do you want to create? What do you want to do with your life? Where are you going? If you don't have that, then it doesn't really matter which direction you're headed. I could have headed out into that backyard to pick apples or talk to my chickens. You know what I mean? But I was there to create something. I think if you want to have something be different in your life, if you want to intend for, something to show up in your life, you have to intentionally walk that path. But if you just start something, it's like that end table. It's like there will be elements of imperfection in it, and that's okay. It's still beautiful. to just start something. So, a lot of times inside of coaching, you will hear so many people say, nobody's coming. Nobody's going to do the work for you. Nobody's showing up. But, faith without works is dead, right? You have to show up for yourself. And the thing that you can do is you can surround yourself with the people that have trod that path before you, that know how to create what you're trying to create. Maybe they have some experience that you can lean on. I was listening to, I think it was Steve Harvey the other day, and he said, if you are the smartest person in the room, that feels really good. People are coming to you. They're looking for advice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you are the smartest person in the room, you got to find yourself another room, right?
Yeah. I thought that was the second part of it, but it's just funny hearing you say it again because it's true. It is right. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's pretty good.
If Steve Harvey said it, I mean, we gotta.
Don't even go there. I don't mean you just
gotta lean on
it. Steve Harvey said it. We know it's absolutely. It's like gospel at that point. I'm going to go with your faith without works. That's much more gospel than anything. Than give Steve Harvey his credit.
Right.
Okay. But it's a valid point though, right? If you're always that person feeding everyone else information,
then how are you
energy?
How are you getting your energy? How are you getting your information? Started going to it was broadcasts and live conferences, and I was learning from coaches who were present at that time, people like Mel Robbins, and I was also Brendan Burchard was there, and Tom Bilyeu and others. So, I was learning and gleaning their energy and their information. And I'm still doing that even today, learning from you and other people. Yes, I'm learning from you.
You need to stop that. I'm telling people that. They'll start asking me for advice. So go. I'm just joking. But you've been able to learn from those who are taking a lead in what they've learned.
Right.
Motivational tip to help people start. What motivational tip can you pass on? Motivational tip. What you got?
Well, I would just pull from what we've talked about today. And I think the biggest takeaway from today is to identify as a learner. I think if you can identify as a learner, you can say, okay, that's fine. I don't know this. I don't know how. I'm not comfortable with this. I'm afraid, but that's okay because I'm a learner. There's so many things that you can identify as today. I'm a man, I'm a woman, whatever, and all these different things. But best thing I could tell anybody to identify as is a learner. And if you do that, then you can figure out, how can I get going on my next step on this journey, on whatever it is that's calling me.